Elio guys, and welcome back. In today's video though, this is going to be a follow-up to a previous video that I did on the channel, which was the top 5 Nat4's for beginners. In this video, as the title and obviously the thumbnail implies, this is going to be the top 5 personal choices for me in terms of Nat4's that beginner players should be using, because you're probably going to be using them a lot. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it here. Alright, so coming in 5th place, at least in my opinion, is going to have to be Fire Leo. Now, Fire Leo comes in with Double Hunter. He has access to a Super Evolution. Obviously, you can book him up as well. And with a 3.5 base attack stat, especially as a Firemon, that's super duper useful. Now, one of the issues that come up later in terms of MSL is once you get used to Fire Draka on Siphon set, Firemons are basically eroded away. But for particular content, I feel like Fire Leo is fairly useful if you need some type of fire nuker, which there aren't too many because Draka can't count in all situations, especially when you think of the Dimension Defense. You're going to need something that can hit fairly well, that's easy to book up and easy to raise. Not to mention, if you do build him up, especially as a beginner player, you do have access of using him inside Golem's B9. And you could technically use him in B10 too as a nuker, but you're probably just better off using a wave clearer. And then also you can use him in dragons as you're trying to farm out siphon gems to get your first mon on a siphon set. So overall, I still think he's relevant, maybe not super duper relevant, which is why he's number 5 on this list. But you know, at the end of the day, even if you're done using him in dragons and stuff like that, he does have his place in the Dimension Defense in the future. In terms of other areas, you could also bring him into Colossus depending on what type of mon that you need, but do keep in mind that he will not replace a Courageous Striker in that scenario, but it's better than nothing. And at the very minimum, you could always bring him into clan versus clan or PvP as a newer player, because this is geared towards beginners. And yeah, he would definitely do the job there. Coming in the 4th spot though is going to be Wood John. The same thing with Wood John. There's not that many wood nukers that you have access to, and you'll notice on this list as well is that I've kind of focused on mons that you can obtain through pulling. So getting Fire Leo might take some time, but as long as you're like dedicating yourself to getting at least one of the festivals done per month, if not every other month, then it shouldn't be too hard to pull them, especially if you're also farming golems, because you have access to the high eggs that could potentially give you a Nat4. But Wood John is in the same scenario here, where she is a wood nuker, which could be very, very useful for you as you begin the game, because you can use her in B7. You can obviously use her in B10, but once again, I'm not recommending nukers for that type of content. And outside of that, once again, you do have access to her inside the Dimension Defense dungeon if you choose to go that route. And of course, there's PvP / clan versus clan at a lower level, because watermons can be pesky at that lower level. Once again, she does have a Super Evolution. You can book her up, but with Stalker, it really makes her really easy to build with Ruin to kind of maximize her damage here. And she may not be too useful inside the dimensional dungeon, where you can farm out the Super Ascension skills or Super Ascension stones, shall I say, but it's a step in the right direction, because you're going to encounter mons in the game that are fairly hard, and just like in the dragon scenario where you need a nuker of a certain element, she can be used for that as well. And once you're done using her with all of that, once again, just like Fire Leo, you can kind of retire her over there to the Dimension Defense for now until you get something better. And I mean, she's just an overall good nuker to have, because you can't go wrong with double Stalker, at least in one man's opinion. And then coming in hot in 3rd place, no one should be shocked at all. There should be no surprise Pikachus in the comment section. It's going to have to be Wood Hana. Why Wood Hana? Wood Hana literally does everything. Literally does everything. If you need a healer for the Dimensional Dungeon, congratulations, she's right here. If you need a healer for the Dimension Defense, which just came out, congratulations, she's right here. If you need a healer for any type of content whatsoever, especially in terms of Titans, congratulations, she's here. Obviously getting her skill books is a different story because she is a Nat4 just like all the other ones that I've recommended here, but it's not a super duper dire situation until you start hitting Titans hardcore where you really need to focus on booking her up. But with access to a super evolution just the same as everyone else, this baby girl is just brutal. Really good lead on her as well, and she's pretty much usable in all types of content. Heck, they even use HANA for the, what is it, the Fire Titan, you know, for mons hitting Fire Titan. That's how good HANA is, because they're like, dude, attack down and freaking defense up. You literally can't go wrong with that. So if you're having issues, especially as a newer player, clearing out certain content, then you probably don't have a HANA built. And even if you're going ham on clearing out the story, you're going to find out very, very quickly if you want some decent Titan damage, which do keep in mind, I will have a Titans video here coming in the future, more like an intro or kind of beginner's guide into Titans, so stay tuned for that. But if you're having issues with survivability in Titans, chances are you don't have a good healer at all. But she is definitely easy above the Fire Leo and Wood John that I recommended before. Like, these top 3 Astromon is like 0 to 100 in terms of like how useful and how good these guys are. So I do suggest, if you can in the future, try and build up multiple of these baby girls. There's some people out here with 6 of these. There's some people out here probably with 8. I personally have 4, and I'm okay with 4. Am I thinking about more though? We won't talk about that. But overall, a very useful healer in terms of everything but PvP / clan versus clan. You can bring her in there just like you can bring any Astromon in there. But I never said that she was going to do her job there. She has to have her weakness somewhere, you guys. Somewhere. And then coming in second place, yes, this should also be no surprise to no one out there, is going to be Water CURA. Back in the day, she was just a meme, but with her update, she has become a big, fat smiler. She is just a smiley face gaming Astromon. Once again, she serves her purpose just like Wood HANA, being a healer. But what's also spicy about this baby girl is great lead, especially for Titans. You have exposed weakness and attack up. So while this may not be super duper useful in terms of all PvE content, I do use mine in the dimensional dungeon because her lead is great. It's great that she can boost up the damage of other Astromon with exposed weakness and attack up. So she's a big staple in my dimension teams, and I don't think I could do it without her because, yeah, that lead makes all the difference. She's also usable inside the brand new dimension defense dungeon with the Apophis, and without a doubt Titans. Like, I have 2 of these baby girls so far, but my recommendation to anyone out there, especially if you're hitting more than 1 Titan, I would honestly recommend 4 of these, just like 4 of HANA's. Now you're going to say, Elio, I just started the game, I don't have that many CURAs. That's fine. As long as you keep doing festivals, like I stated with all of these other Nat4's, you'll be able to get her to Evo 3, hopefully within a couple months. I'm not going to say no time because RNG can be fairly bad, but her overall usage is a little bit less than HANA's, but not by much. But having her there can be just a game-changing mode. You can either clear out a stage with her or fill the stage without her. So don't sleep on Water CURA. Try and get as many as you can. Book her up in the future if you can, but especially as you grow from being a beginner and get into Titans or the Dimension Defense, whatever you choose, she's going to be fairly helpful. Now, with that being said, PvP, clan versus clan, same scenario here where it doesn't really affect anything in terms of that. Like, I wouldn't bring her in there, but once again, you can do whatever you like. And before we head over here to number 1 on the list, I do have 2 honorable mentions, which luckily are right beside each other. The first honorable mention is going to be Water CURA. Now, Water CURA is a great Astromon to have, especially as a beginner player, because for his 3-star skill, he has stun with 100% chance as long as he has crit on him. So making sure that his crit is maxed, it's pretty much all that matters, because as a single target tank mon with 2k defense, he's literally not there for defense, or shall I say, he's literally not there for DPS. He's just there to stun. So getting him up to even Evo 2, in my opinion, is more than enough depending on whatever content that you're doing, as long as you have some type of trinkets on him, because that stun can come in big handy in places like Tower of Chaos and PvE, places where things may be a little bit rough for you at this point in time. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be using him forever. You're going to use him at the start, and then you'll see immediately that, wow, he sucks. I have access to other mons. But when you just begin and you don't have any reliable source of crowd control, this mon is definitely up there in terms of usage. You don't have to get him to Evo 3, stated before, but he does serve his purpose as a beginner type Astromon to get the hang of the game and also prevent other mons from hitting you like a butt cheek on a stick here. And now for another honorable mention, even though you guys know that I'm not a big fan of Water Loki, especially with the newer content added to the game, I can look at him a little bit more positively, is of course this guy right here, which I said his name already. He has Predator and also Hunter. Well, I should say Hunter on his 3-star skill and Predator on his 5-star skill. So he's a water nuker. These are a dime a dozen. But what makes him different from the other Astromon is that we're talking about Nat4's in this video specifically. Once again, he pops out the eggs fairly often, so getting him up to Evo 3 is just a matter of time. He also has access to a super evolution to further his damage, so if you need a water nuker for dragons, for example, B8 doesn't really matter. So for dragons, the beginning stages of PvP, and especially the Dimension Defense Dungeon, once again, he can go ahead and get the job done here. Does he drop off at some point in time? Yes. But basically what I'm trying to do though is set you guys up with having at least one nuker of each element. So if you're ever in a content situation where you need a nuker for the element, you already have one built, because you watch this video, you realize that, okay, even though I may not use this mon every single day, there's going to come a point in time where I'm going to need him. I'd rather have him built already or in the process of building him, so once I get there, things go smoothly. And yep, that's it, you guys. That's it. We all know who number 1 should be and number 1 deserves to be. That's going to be Dark Mona here. For players that just began the game, especially within like the recent, year or so, Smart Study has been giving out a Dark Mona as part of the login quest. Mona herself even has a quest to get her water version up to Evo 3, which you should also focus on getting her dark version up to Evo 3, because the dark one is water Mona, but just literally superior in every freaking avenue. Every avenue, in terms of damage, in terms of usage, in terms of everything. So Evo 3 your water Mona, throw her out there in your team for B8. Evo 3 your dark Mona, throw her out there for basically your next couple of golem teams for the foreseeable future. But she's number 1 because players have a easy access to her, because you can farm out her Evo 3 version in Pago's Coast, which makes her really super duper accessible, because all of the other Nat4 stated here have to have Nat4 copies in order to get them to Evo 3, but she doesn't. They give her to you for free. Literally for free. And at the time of this video, her rebirth is going on with Lat as well. So if you began the game, or if you return to the game and you don't have a Dark Mona, you need to go ahead and hunker down, grind out the game, and try and get your Dark Mona at least throughout this month of March 2020, because her progress with helping your account is just dire. It's just absolutely dire. But what makes her so appealing? She is basically a free wave clearer. I mean, not basically, but she is literally a free wave clearer. With a 3.4k attack stat, she has morale boost and Hunter. While her Hunter isn't super duper amazing, it does get its job done. So having her on like an intuition set as you begin the game is fine. And then as you like dabble your feet over there into dragons, hopefully you can get her on even a crappy siphon set. And then it's like, wow, PvE isn't necessarily a joke, but PvE is super duper easy. I can run B8, B7, B9, no problem. I can even slide her in there in B10. Like, it's just imperative, especially if you want to progress in this game super duper quickly as a beginner and hit mid game as soon as possible, that you get Dark Mona up to Evo 3, get her booked up, get her on an intuition set first, like crit rate, attack, then transition her over to a siphon set where she will basically remain with that. Because once again, spoiler alert, you can use her pretty much everywhere besides. I wouldn't recommend the Dimension Dungeons with her, not at all. I also wouldn't recommend PvP with her, but once again, you could use her. But in terms of PvE, your next big jump up from Dark Mona is going to be like Fire Draka, unless you're lucky and pull like a Dark Purse or a Dark Gilgamesh or something of that nature. But super duper useful Astromon. I wouldn't say that she's overrated. I would say that she is where she needs to be at. But that will pretty much end this list here, you guys. So my goal here was just to give you guys access to nukers that you should be thinking of having. and also having healers that you should be thinking about building as you begin your MSO journey, because you'll find out that all of these Ashramon obviously have their place, and they're not super duper strong in every area of the game, but when you need them, they'll be there. And when you need help with Titans, well, they'll be there. And this is going to be a nice, hopefully, precursor to a future kind of intro to Titans. But that's pretty much it. You guys feel free to leave in the comments below about what you guys recommend for other beginner players to build. Obviously, looking back on things, if you could do anything differently, feel free to leave your comments below about what you think the top 5 Nat4 beginner players should have. Thank you so much for watching, though. And yeah, that's pretty much it. See you.